The new leaks about how much the NSA is spying on us, despite their remit to only spy on people in other countries. The huge amount of attention to these new revelations has obscured a little bit the fact that these are just the latest in a long series of revelations about how much the NSA is spying on us. I mean, you can go all the way back to the Church Committee hearings from the time that Martin Dempsey and David Petraeus and Keith Alexander were just getting out of West Point. You can go all the way back to the Church Committee hearings, and the big revelation back then were NSA operations like Operation Shamrock.
The Select Committee made its first inquiries into this operation last May.
The Church Committee, headed by Senator Frank Church of Idaho, exposed widespread abuses of power at the FBI and the CIA and revealed that the NSA had been spying on Americans for decades. What was Operation Shamrock?
Operation Shamrock was a program of the National Security Agency to obtain access to telegrams that were leaving the United States for other countries, for foreign countries. And the idea was that the NSA would look through these telegrams, look for telegrams of interest from a foreign intelligence standpoint.
Are you saying all the telegrams going out of the U.S.? How did they get access?
They asked. I mean, that sounds very simplistic, but they approached the communications carriers, the telegraph companies concerned.
RCA, ITT.
And Western Union.
So in Operation Shamrock, what we saw was the NSA turning its foreign intelligence operations internally on American communications.
Well, exactly, yeah. Operation Shamrock was getting access to all the communications coming into, going out of, and going through the United States.
There were very few rules back there, very few laws, regulations that dealt with what NSA or any intelligence agency could collect back then. The capabilities were there, the restraints weren't there. The temptation is to do it.
The committee believes that serious legal and constitutional questions are raised by this program.
The NSA had been founded in the 1950s. By the 1970s, the revelations that were shocking the country about what they were doing with telegrams. Right? By the time James Bamford was writing the first big investigatory book about the NSA in 1982, a book called The Puzzle Palace, we were just on the verge of the computing revolution. Remember, Time magazine named the personal computer Machine of the Year in 1983. Right? Imagine how NSA's capabilities have changed since then. By the 2000s, the NSA's computing power was being put to use in the form of wholesale tapping of internet and phone communications. By 2005, we had the revelation of all that warrantless wiretapping and the NSA essentially making and taking its own copy of everything happening on the internet. We have had these revelations periodically, essentially since the NSA was born. And since guys like James Bamford first, and then a lot of other people thereafter, started reporting on all the secret things that the NSA does. But these revelations that periodically shock us about what they do, they basically never result in them stopping doing this thing that is shocking us. The programs, even the revealed programs, the leaked programs, they don't go away. They just expand over time. If we are weirded out by the power of the NSA, their power so far is something that only grows. So how does that end?